let us all do we can to build a better future.
You remember that whole thing about fighting for 15, folks? Remember that $15 minimum wage increase? But it looks like we're now waiting.
Firms remembers it's been so long.
Yeah, geez. Well, here's the thing. Like, you know, not only do we have to wait till 2025, but apparently even now, corporate media, especially our friends at CNN, are shocked that, you know, it's taken a while, that there's a little bit of a back and forth between not Democrats and Republicans, but between Democrats and Democrats, because we cannot forget good old Joey Boy Manchin, and a few of his Democratic colleagues are against the $15 wage increase.
Really quick, I just want to say that I know we have Joe Manchin, but what about Johnny House?
If you know a Johnny House, type in the comment section below. But let's play this first video. Shout out to Case Study QB. Let's get it started.
Those voters Jeff talked to, Angela Lang, what she said there stood out to me. I always get kind of skeptical and a little nervous when people say they want to unite everyone and bring everyone together. I think sometimes that means watering down progressive policies for the sake of unity. How much pressure is Biden facing from the progressive wing of his party right now?
Well, he's facing a lot of pressure, Aaron, particularly inside this COVID relief bill, the big one that Biden is trying to pass as soon as March. There's a provision that would raise the minimum wage to $15. Biden's administration supports it, but there's a lot of concern about whether or not that'll survive reconciliation in the Senate, not just because Republicans don't support it, but because there are a number of Senate Democrats, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, who don't want that inside the bill. They argue that it's not pertinent to a budget bill, one of targeting COVID relief, and progressives want to see Biden use all of the tools at his disposal to get it done. They don't really want the excuses of disunity in their caucus. They want to see him lean on those senators to get that done. And they call it one of the first big tests for him.
Right. So, you know, and I'm not saying it flies in the face of unity. I know there's lots of ways to look at this, but one of the great problems or challenges that Biden's going to have, right, is that progressives, right, the left wing of his party wants a certain list of deliverables, right, that people like Sinema and Manchin and other moderates may not want. And, you know, right now, the bloom is still on the rose. But can it stay that way? You can't keep all these people happy, can you?
Well, that's going to be the tricky part, right? When you're in the majority, they now control the House, the Senate, and the White House. And so a lot of Democrats want to see big things done that they weren't able to accomplish in the Obama years, and that, of course, they weren't able to do because they didn't have the majorities during the Trump years. And so not only do they consider the $15 minimum wage a first big test, pretty soon they're going to be trying to get going on different elements of immigration reform. And the big question there is comprehensive reform. Democrats may want it, but the reality is that there aren't the votes there in the Senate if they...
Okay, let's, before we play that first video, again, Democratic Senator Sinema, Democratic Senator Manchin, two Democrats. These are the two that are halting a $15 minimum wage increase and also a few other progressive policies. But again, CNN and people who were maybe browbeaten to vote blue no matter who, again, progressives, rewind back the clocks. Remember Bernie Sanders and Biden's fantastic task force and how we got a great deal? Oh, wait, we didn't. So everyone needs to stop being shocked that the Democrats, or at least that there's going to be certain members of the Democratic Party that are going to be against progressive policies. And again, corporate media. What's corporate media doing? Well, let's not forget that there was an article covering on how Joe Biden is playing Mario Kart with his granddaughter. There's been a lot of wonderful pieces about Joe Biden, what he's doing, and how him and his wife put hearts on the Washington, in front of the White House lawn, where, you know, there's the respect, love, peace, all that stuff. That doesn't matter. All this fluff stuff is crap. People are waiting for demands. A $2,000 stimulus check, not $1,400. And now it looks like, again, $15 minimum wage increase is just too much. Again, this is what happens when you put confidence into the Democratic Party or assume that now that the orange man is out of office, that everything's going to be fine. We're still waiting. You would expect this to be from Republican lawmakers, and you would expect Republican lawmakers to be basically be the one saying, well, we're not going to do this. But it's 2 Democratic senators, 2 of them. And there's probably a few others that haven't made their personal opinions public yet, because there's always a private and a public face that these politicians have. And so again, what are we seeing from corporate media? They're just shocked. They're wondering, oh, what does this mean? Do progressives have enough push? Well, here's the thing. If there aren't enough progressives that are willing to push back against the Democratic establishment and hold their feet to the fire, well, then progressives, you're not going to change anything. And remember, a lot of progressives gave away their power when they decided to vote blue no matter who. This is what happens when you concede your power and not get anything back in return. Bernie Sanders is a shining example. That task force, they got nothing. And we covered that numerous times here at Heartland's Media, and so have numerous other independent media outlets. This is what happens when you turn a blind eye and trust politicians to do the right thing, because they can't.
So this is the other part of this as we talk about that progressives flexing power. First of all, there's enough progressives that are right now in the squad and everyone else that are more than 2 people. And if the Democrats pass bills that are subpar and not what these people said that they're being sent to office to pass, which is, of course, talking about the progressives. If the progressives just vote for it anyway because it's better than nothing, what value do they have as a roadblock at all? The only thing they really have is to say, look, if you're not going to pass a bill in the House that's any good, we're just going to block it. We're going to stop the process. We're going to do the same thing. And then maybe we'll block some other bills as well. Actually, Kit, do you have your wallet with you right now in your pocket?
Why? You want some money?
I'm actually, I want to play something out. So this is how it works. So can you give me just any bill that's in your wallet?
I'm going to give you good old George Washington.
Okay, thank you. So this is what the Democrats do. They say, I'm going to need this bill to do something, and we're going to help you. And can I actually have one more bill just for the example?
Okay. All right. Hey, watch. I'm getting robbed in real life.
Yeah, I'm going to help you in a second. So, okay, I'm going to put this up here. Actually, I need, just because what we had, do you like a 5 I can use? Just, it'll work. Just work with me on this.
Give me my $2 back. Give me my $2.
What do you mean your $2?
Give me my $2
you voted
back.
to allow this to happen, and
I felt all right,
and
clever.
And you saw he didn't ask for any concession.
Hey,
he didn't do anything to stop. He didn't ask what I was going to do with it.
All right,
he just gave me his money, and now it's my money.
Give me my $2 back.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's a what $2?
All right, you know what? If I'm not getting my stimulus check, I'm getting my $2.
But that's the point. It's just like the progressives, you don't get to complain unless you're going to put into work to do something and put your reputation on the risk, or the Democrats are going to keep stealing your money.
All right, let's play that next video.
Don't use other procedural tools. The idea that they can get 10 Senate Republicans behind massive immigration reform is pretty much not possible. And so they're going to have to look at ways to break those things down to get it through the 50-50 Senate.
All right. Well, Laura, thank you.
Don't use.
All right, let's pause that here again, because that's like a video that's going to keep on repeating itself. All right, so here's the thing. When we concede power to the Democratic establishment and not push back, we get nothing in return. And remember the force of vote thing. Remember force of vote? Does it seem ridiculous now? Does it seem ridiculous now to actually ask our politicians to push back?
But why would we do anything that might work if we have to risk something at some point?
See, the thing is, and I think the Democrats are going to be walking into the 2022 midterm election cycle, and they're probably going to get slaughtered. They're going to lose their majority in the House and Senate, and watch Joe Biden concede to the Republicans with everything. And all this talk about how Biden and Harris are going to bring in civility and everything's going to be better. What world are you living in? First of all, one, Joe Biden is a career politician who helped create this economic system. And number two, Kamala Harris. Never has there been a politician who got 0 delegates and dropped out of the race in the primary. I mean, we're supposed to trust somebody that was booted out right away, and yet corporate media propped her up as being the next big thing. Yeah, she's VP, and yeah, she fits all the great identity talking points. But in all reality, look at the primary. Tulsi Gabbard knocked her out. And if that offends people, too bad, so sad. it's only a miracle right now, the fact that the Democrats still have this much goodwill by the vote blue no matter who crowd, or people who were just forced or yelled at to vote for them. People wonder why we got Trump in the first place.
And here's the other part of it. So in America, first off, just the presidential cycle, it only matters, your vote sort of only matters in a few counties, because the Electoral College, popular vote doesn't matter. So it's really like a few thousand votes determine the election. That's how they want it to be, is you focus on certain areas that'll swing back and forth every single cycle. So you talk over to Democratic, and then you talk back to Republican, back and forth, because no one's giving them what they want, because no one in government actually has the desire to do that when they can just swing back and forth like a ping pong table. And again, I make the point that I made with progressives again. We're seeing it with Manchin. Manchin is one person saying, I'm not going to vote for this, has gummed up the entire works because the Democrats don't want to put in the elbow grease to get him to change his mind, because they really would like to themselves negotiate closer to where the Republicans are. Anyway, on the same token, if a subpar bill comes out, if progressives do not block it or refuse to vote for it, and they just go for it, you can't say you're the resistance. If you're just like, well, I don't want to be blamed for, like, you know, abandoning my people, so I'm going to abandon my people by not doing the thing that's right. So if they say, hey, we're going to pass a bill in the House that doesn't have $15 minimum wage, doesn't have, you know, checks coming in, doesn't have X, Y, or Z, doesn't have rental assistance for people, but the most we can get is what we negotiated with Republicans, which are just crumbs. Again, if the progressives vote for a bill like that, they're a part of the Democratic Party. And if they fight back and put themselves in line, okay, we'll listen.
Well, hold on. We actually got one more video. Again, shout out to Case Study QB. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. There's a third video that I want us to play. And again, this just has to deal with the fact that the Democrats and even corporate media, the blinders are on. And, you know, with this amount of people just falling back to normal, remember, we got Trump because of this over-reliance on corporate media and our political establishment system to do the right thing. They haven't been doing it for years correctly because they've been screwing us over. Let's play this final video.
Without counting on Republican votes requires remarkable Democratic discipline, which they have had so far. This is from your piece. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has a 5-vote margin on this bill. This isn't the spring of 2020 when the economy was cratering and the uncertainty of the virus was so paralyzing for the country that lawmakers came together in a matter of weeks to pass the largest stimulus bill in history with unity. The scrutiny on this package, even by some Democrats, is more intense. So they need to convince competing factions within the Democratic Party, we're doing this. You can't get your little piece. You can't get your little piece. We're doing this.
That's exactly right. And Pelosi has about a 5-vote margin in the House. Schumer has no room for error. He cannot lose a single Democrat on this package, assuming that not any Republican is willing to vote for it. That is tough because you have already had someone like Senator Kyrsten Sinema come out and say she will not support a package that includes the $15 minimum wage. That is going to be a sticking point for a lot of progressives, especially if the House passes a bill that includes that minimum wage, then it moves over to the Senate and they vote either not to have it in there, or perhaps the parliamentarian takes it out because it doesn't fit the set of rules needed for this process. But I mean, that's going to be a big problem, and it's going to be a problem for their progressives. And I think that that is going to be the challenge for Democrats moving forward. And, you know, Joe Biden is campaigned on being a unifier. The question is, can he unify his own party?
And part of the way to do that, Julie Pace, you know this from your years covering the White House, is for a president to hit the road and say the country is with me. So I need you to swallow your pride, Democrats. I need you to swallow your policy a little bit on some issues, Democrats, because this is what we need to do.
Pause it for a second. Pause it. Let me do a quick translator for everyone. Progressives, shut up and eat your crap sandwich.
Or either that. Hey, remember what Dr. Jill Biden said to us, right? Hey, when it comes down to voting for Biden, just swallow it. Swallow your pride, right? Yeah. And now here's the thing, because there's another translation in this video too, and that is, hey, Democrats, anything that, or voters, Democratic voters, especially progressives, you know, all that stuff we talked about, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
The Democrats are not going to work on it. And Biden, this whole idea of him getting the Senate to work together and relying on Chucky Boy Schumer to put his team together, no one respects Chuck, okay? No one does. Even his closest allies don't respect him because guess what? The Democrats are weak. So if Biden can just fart on through and just get bare minimum out of this relief bill, he will. He'll try and put on a show, so maybe making it look like he's fighting for you, but he's not. The Democrats are not fighting for us, and hence they're not fighting for us. Don't expect anything. Hell, what is it? Oh, I don't even have my watch on. Oh, that's right.
Guess past the hair.
I know. Yeah, guess what? We're still waiting for our stimulus check. We still don't have it. It's supposed to be right out the door, $2,000. But of course, if you're on Twitter, you know, people who are diehard vote blue, they're saying $1,400 and $600 is a down payment. It's a bunch of BS. Let's play the rest of this video.
We think of this 100-day window as the most important for any new president. A big town hall in Wisconsin, and then a pharmaceutical plant, a vaccine plant in Michigan. Not coincidences. He's picking those states.
Okay. So final note to take away from this story, and that is this. You're still going to be waiting for any kind of progressive relief. Don't expect these politicians who are in Congress, especially those 15 progressives that are on the force to vote petition, or Bernie Sanders to fight for you either. I hate to break it to you because it looks like we're still waiting. And we're going to be going through 2021 with the Democrats fumbling around, tripping over themselves, screwing up left and right because they don't know how to effectively fight for policy. They're not doing it correctly. They're not fighting back. And of course, people will say, well, listen, there's a lot of rules and stuff in the House and Senate. Well, listen, if the Democrats want to maintain their majority in the House and Senate, they're going to have to lead by example. They're going to have to push back and do something that we haven't seen in a long time, and that is fight. Do you think the GOP House representatives and senators follow the rules in the House and Senate? No, they don't. They're able to get what they want, and they're able to fight for it effectively. If you don't like me saying that, well, it's a real truth. Look at what the Republicans have done in the House and Senate when they want something done. The Democrats cave all the time. And don't give me the excuse that, oh, wait, we need more Democrats in the Senate and House. Okay, great. We saw that once before when Obama was elected, when they really did have a majority in the House and Senate. And what did Obama and the Democrats do? They screwed it up. They threw away a public option for the Affordable Care Act, which is actually Romney Care, which was created by the Heritage Foundation. No one likes to talk about that, but it's a real thing. So guess what? Even if the Democrats do have a majority, let's say they somehow walk into the midterm and they actually get more seats in the House and Senate in a hypothetical scenario. Do you really think they're going to fight for progressive policies? You're living in a child's fantasy if you're thinking that the Democrats care about you. It's one big club and you ain't in it, and you're still waiting for your stimulus checks. People are still being evicted from their homes. People are still waiting in lines for food. It's one big nightmare, and the Democrats are just accepting it as is, including their most diehard followers. And now more than ever, we have to look at a new alternative. We got to vote third party. That's why I'm all support for the Movement for People's Party, Green Party, Libertarian Party. We have to look at other alternatives besides the Democratic and Republican Party. I will not be a puppet to the two-party system that keeps on screwing us over. They've been doing it for decades. They're going to still keep on doing it now. Nothing has fundamentally changed.
Yeah, I mean, all great points. And again, I'll go back to, if we have a hypothetical foothold in the Democratic Party, it's the so-called squad that are going to be the ones doing this work. And what have we seen this year from the Democratic Party? Well, on the establishment side, which is Joe Biden's administration, we've seen an increase in violence and war. We've seen, as Laney put out, the only positive thing that we can see so far is that food programs have gotten a little more money, a little, but we're not getting checks, which probably would help people a bit more. And we're not getting just about anything else. In fact, what we're really doing, and Kate will have some stories on this later, are just agreeing with Republicans. What do you need? How can we help you? How can we compromise? This is a Bill Clinton's presidency and an Obama's presidency. I was also listening to an interesting one of the clips we check out is it was Fareed Zakaria on CNN doing this expose on how he's like, wow, Biden's really hawkish, very Republican. I don't get it. He's like, he said he wanted to get back in the Iran deal, but now he's not. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't understand it. this is what money in politics does. This is what we're dealing with right now. It is that businesses control both parties, and so both parties are playing the kabuki theater aspect of this to you, thinking that they'll screw over, or I should say, well, screw over for sure, but trick you into thinking that they're doing something positive. But more and more, we see people moving to independent, leaving both parties. And blue, no matter who, as much as they love to complain that if you don't do what they say, you're the fascist, which is always very funny, what we're going to get in the next year is a whole lot of continuity of Trump's administration, because that's what we have right now, except for the higher foreign intervention and except for the not giving anyone stimulus, which is very ironic.
And the whole thing was Fareed Sakari like being shocked that Biden's being hawkish. It's like, dude, you were living under a rock? Seriously, bro?